enforced compliance, and you better watch out because
Better watch yourself.
unpaid taxes compound daily, making it even harder to get
Better
out of
check
debt.
yourself
Don't let
when you
tax
wreck
debt destroy
yourself.
your life. You need to call Optima Tax Relief.
Better smarten the fuck up.
Tax resolution
Better.
firm. They're experts in taxpayer assistance programs that can save you thousands.
Just made some microwavable popcorn.
Rated by the Better Business Bureau, Optima's resolved over $1 billion
Not cooked in the
of tax debt
microwave.
to their clients. Let them fight on your behalf.
Doesn't need to be.
Put your tax
It's a lie.
Call the tax professionals at Optima now for a free consultation. Call
It's just fine.
6744 800
Stole.
6744 800 6744. Optima Tax Relief. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
With Progressive, it's easy to reach customer service
Time
without
for
app,
anyone?
website, chat, or by phone. Because when getting help is hard, it's not help at all.
Do you want to share one?
Yeah. Let's share.
Thank you for calling Bench Press Assistance. What? Due to
I'm
excessive gym
almost
volume,
reaching
all
there.
available squadrons are currently lifting heavy weights off the chests of other bench pressers. Please continue to hold, and we will remove the barbell from your chest in the order in which your cry for help was received.
Getting assistance should be easy. With Progressive, it is. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates.
Poke me, poke me.
Whatever comes your way. That's what it feels like.
Say oh in my baby, just a thing in there.
Sure your AEDs are up to date. Your fire extinguishers are tested and inspected. Your floor mats are cleaned and delivered. And your workwear looks good, feels good, and is freshly laundered with the Cintas Apparel Plus program. So are you ready to take on today? Visit
Oh fuck, I gotta change this channel. Can get copy stricken.
Get ready for the workday.
Let's see what's happening in fucking public radio. Damn it.
You didn't forget, then. Actually, I probably said it to myself.
What?
And I know
To change it.
time is running out for people who rely on cheaper alternatives for a name brand obesity.
To change the channel
Large specialty pharmacies
Oh yeah.
before shooting a video.
stop tomorrow. NPR Pharmaceuticals correspondent Julie Lufkin has more on how patients are dealing with the change.
Christina and Jackson Agar, a couple in Minnesota, used to order a pizza and finish it in one night. But an obesity drug changed that.
We ate some of it the first night, and then the next day we had maybe a little bit more, and then we ended up throwing the pizza away because it had gone past the days that you could eat it. And it was so strange because we have never done that.
No, never.
They've each lost about 20 pounds in 6 weeks. But they're not taking Eli Lilly's Zepbound. Their insurance doesn't cover it. They're taking a cheaper alternative that contains the active ingredient called tirzepatide. It's made by a compounding pharmacy, which is a special kind of pharmacy that's allowed to essentially make copies of drugs during shortages. Christina says she has more energy for their 4 kids, and Jackson stopped using cheese.
It's weird how some people who I've always known as like really big,
Take a bite.
and then they start taking these drugs,
Triggering foods and just be like, enjoy it. Say, yep, that was good.
and all of a sudden they're just like all skinny and shit.
Yeah. But on March 19th, the Food
But
and
a
Drug
lot of times
Administration
it's all
says
flabby.
compounding pharmacies will
Yeah.
have to stop
Flab or
making
whatever.
It's because then you have to get like
Because the agency declared
skin
the year-long Zepbound
grafting and
shortage
stuff.
over.
Yeah.
The Agars are worried. Other patients
Or, like,
are sad.
get a
Some more are
skin
just
job,
angry.
like on those
In Arizona, Margaret
reality
Carmichael
shows they
was
did,
in
like
denial.
like the Biggest Loser,
My 600-pound life. or
and then they
whatever.
lose all that weight and they have all that skin,
Yeah.
and then they have to like get a surgery for that.
There's no way.
But they gotta be a certain weight to get that
Yeah,
surgery.
you have to like.
Confusing for patients.
Be
Some
healthier.
telehealth companies have been telling them they won't be effective.
Because what if you
Working out
what if you
stuff.
gained all that weight back and then your body had to like stretch all your skin out, man? That would be good.
That's Josh Fritzler, the chief financial officer for Olympia Pharmaceuticals, a large
Yes,
compounding
it's very
pharmacy in
monitored.
Northern
To go from like
Production was
380
stopped, but
pounds
pharmacies
down
can
to
still
like
dispense Olympia's tirzepatide
170,
until
say,
it runs out or expires.
and then go back up to
Olympia
like
has made the
400.
medicine for more than 100,000 patients a month.
Christ,
They're nervous. They're
Really?
scared.
fucking wicked.
And we're just hopeful that we can make enough in the time being to fill patient scripts.
Smaller compounding pharmacies, which
I
are
wanna
regulated
lose
by
at least.
states, were supposed to stop in February. Many patients
Oh,
told
I don't
NPR
lose.
they have
I
been
want to lose
stuck in
like
the
15
hospital
pounds,
with tirzepatide. Carmichael doesn't have
but
health
gain
insurance
like
right now.
20
She says
muscle.
she can only
Just
afford a
muscle
small
up.
stockpile.
Be like
I don't have
beefcake.
the money, so I'm
You are
going
beef.
to borrow
No,
the
but
money
bigger beef.
and try to get more months and stretch it out as long as I can. And
I don't want a
hope that
hockey butt. That's not what I'm
6
talking
to 9 months from now, there'll be
about.
another
Oh, hockey
solution.
puck, baby.
Eli Lilly sells
Not
step-down
saying
files at a
that.
discount for people not using
Your chest
insurance.
and your
But
body.
Carmichael says they're
It's
still
fine.
too expensive. She would have to pay
You
$600 a month for a month's supply from Lilly. She's
You
been
wanna
able
get
to get
ass.
3 months of compounded vials for $500. To keep the Lilly discount, patients like Carmichael would also have to renew every 45 days.
You
They're
have to
making it
beg.
as
You
difficult
get
as possible
ass.
for people.
I got
Some people are
ass.
talking online about
Yes.
buying an active ingredient from
That's
China
better.
and mixing the
Yes,
obesity
best.
drugs in their homes. They call it the gray market. Here's Jackson Agar in Minnesota.
Look, when you ban stuff, people are going to turn to crazy alternatives because we need this and we don't have that much money.
But he says the gray market is a risk his family is just unwilling to take. Sydney Lupton, NPR
Poke me,
News.
poke me.
At Columbia University in New York, anger and frustration is reaching a boiling point as federal immigration agents have shown up to arrest and deport non-citizen students who have participated in pro-Palestinian protests. Students and faculty warn that President Trump's crackdown will not end with Columbia. NPR's Adrian Florido reports from New York.
Hundreds of students recently gathered at Columbia's main gates.
Fucking
Many of them
America.
wrapped in
Now the
FDA
fucking
stars, and they marched.
natives are getting fucked overall. There's like 200 DAs shut down.
What, really?
So probably gonna have to start fighting with the United States again and renegotiate treaties and shit.
On March
All
8th.
that stuff.
He was a leader of pro-Palestinian protests on campus last year. The Trump administration revoked his green card and said it plans to deport him. The president said on social media Khalil's activism was anti-Semitic and aligned with Hamas terrorism, which Khalil denies. He's being held in Louisiana. President Trump said
What's
he
going to
was
be
the
next?
first arrest of
There's
many
a tribe.
to come. A few days later,
And Trump,
immigration
what's he gonna
agents
say?
searched the campus apartments.
We're not gonna
of
fund
two
your
other students they were
fund you
looking
guys
for.
anymore.
The school let them in.
We're gonna like
One
just
student has
not
already fled
pay
to
attention to
Canada.
the
The
treaties
school's interim president, Katrina
and do whatever
Armstrong,
we
said in a
want. Is that what's
school-wide
gonna happen?
email that she was heartbroken, but she said the agents had warrants.
Musk's gonna be like,
Protesters are
fuck
having
the
none of it.
natives.
We need more than heartbroken. We need real protection.
This protester declined to give his name out of fear of being targeted.
What kind of school, what kind of workplace leaves workers and students vulnerable to politically motivated kidnapping in their own home?
As the Trump administration targets non-citizen
That's
students
crazy.
who protested Israel and the war in Gaza, students are growing angry their school isn't publicly fighting back. Tasmina is a recent Columbia graduate. She gave NPR only her first name because she's been involved in the pro-Palestinian protests and worries about online harassment. She notes the school hasn't mentioned Khalil in any public statement.
Like sending emails about, here are some resources, here are some counseling services. Is that really all that Columbia can do? That's all that they can offer? Just a link for counseling services, really?
It's not clear how effectively Columbia could push back. It's facing huge pressure from the Trump administration, which cut $400 million.
I wonder if like
federal funding
there
for
were
the school,
slaves,
saying it
Native
failed to
American
protect
slaves.
Jewish students from harassment
Yeah, I'm
during
sure.
campus protests.
There probably
It
is
gave the
today.
school a list of demands to meet before it would consider restoring the
No, I mean like
A congressional committee has also ordered Columbia
before
to turn over the
before the
disciplinary records of
Emancipation
students who participated in
Proclamation.
protests. In statements sent to NPR,
Like,
Columbia said it follows the
if
law
down
and
south they
requires
like
law
took
enforcement to have the judicial warrant
natives and said, well,
enter non-public university areas.
you might as well
Sitting
be
near the
slaves
steps
too
of
because you're a
Columbia's
lesser
main
race.
library, Wyatt Nash, a freshman, said the immigration arrests on
Probably.
campus have been scary. He's Jewish. He knows people on both
God knows
sides of
they,
the
like,
Israeli-Palestinian
Try to
debate. He
eradicate.
says Khalil's arrest united many of them.
When that happened, I felt like every single person, no matter what you believed, was like everyone should have a right to speak their mind and what they believe, and subjects, so it shouldn't be punished for that, you know.
Vocal pro-Israel students at Columbia have celebrated the Trump administration's broader crackdown over anti-Semitism. NPR reached out to several to ask how they feel about Khalil's arrest.
You heard about
They did
Thomas
not respond, but
Jefferson's
declined to speak about that. Ava Kreitziger, the freshman, says she
like how he
understands
had
the bind
kids with
administrators are in
the
as the
slave
Trump
that he
administration
owned.
uses funding cuts
Some of the
to
women
pressure the
Oh,
school.
yeah, I
But
heard
at the
about that,
same
yeah.
you
time,
never
the
recognized
people should be the
the White House and
priority
Congress.
rather than donors and money. And so
What do you mean?
I think there should be
Well, they were
more of a
just
clear
because
stance from the
it wasn't like
administration on
he's American president.
where they stand,
Yet
as
he
they want
had,
to protect the
he was
students,
having,
and
he's
that
got a
they are
whole
behind
lineage
us completely rather than
what you consider
compliance with
slave-owned lineage.
Trump.
She thinks how Columbia University responds will
The
signal
slaves
to
that
other
were
schools
owned
whether and
prior
how
to
they should fight back
when
if
slavery
immigration
was
agents
still
show up
real.
for their students. Adrian
He's
Fleury,
having
yeah,
babies. Yeah, you know.
Crazy. I've heard something about that before.
It's pretty well documented now. But it only came out within the last, say, 10, 15, 20 years.
This is
You know.
NPR News.
No one ever wanted to, like,
It's
acknowledge that.
3:29. This is Wisconsin Public Radio. Good
Even
afternoon.
though
I'm
everyone
Craig
knows what's
Carlson.
going on.
Just ahead, we have a news update for you here on All Things Considered. National and international news from NPR, as well as the latest WPR news of the day. The Wisconsin
It's like when Arnold
Assembly
Schwarzenegger
is
had
debating a bill that
like,
would require
sex with
sheriffs
his
to
maid or whatever.
cooperate with federal
Very kind
immigration
chum.
authorities.
He's
How
having
about
an
that
affair
story
and
and
they had a
much more
baby.
coming up?
What?
You didn't know that?
No, I didn't know he
Wisconsin
even
Public
married
Radio
Connie
is looking
Chung.
for more WPR
George Forrest
community
now.
ambassadors to help
After
us
she
spread
found
the
out.
WPR love across northern Wisconsin. Community ambassadors
God.
are volunteers who go with us to local festivals,
But
weddings,
Arnold had, like,
concerts, and other
a baby
public
with his maid,
events.
I guess.
They meet other people who tell them all about the
Damn.
value that WPR brings to the community every day. Does this sound good
Dang
to
right.
you? Email us at northern@wpr.org.
Mild and breezy weather for the rest of the day in Wisconsin. Afternoon temperatures mostly in the 50s and low 60s. Overnight, a chance of light rain or wintry mix with lows in the 30s. Tomorrow, wintry mix could turn to heavy snow for
3:15.
western and central Wisconsin.
Get those milk duds away from me, man. I
This
keep
is
eating them.
NPR News.
Oh, I got him for you. Eat him up.
It's like,
Live
if you're
from
to get a
NPR
single
News in
box,
Culver City, California,
that's how much
I'm
milk
Dwayne
would be in
Brown.
there probably.
Israel has resumed its deadly
No,
airstrikes
maybe
in
more than
Gaza, killing more than 400 people today and injuring at least 500 residents across Gaza. Israel says the militant group Hamas broke their month-long ceasefire deal by refusing to agree to terms of releasing the remaining Israeli hostages. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, speaking through an interpreter here, says he's not ruling out sending ground troops into Gaza again.
From now on, Israel will take growing action against Hamas with greater intensity. From now on, negotiations will only be under fire. Hamas has already felt over the last 24 hours the
Andy's.
Israeli strength, and I
Oh,
want to
really?
promise to you and to
So I got
Hamas
those beef
bad.
things.
this is just the beginning.
Back
I
in
feel for him.
January, Israel and
He
Hamas
seems like
agreed
he's
to a
in a lot of pain.
ceasefire that resulted in the release of 33
Yeah.
Israeli
There was
hostages
that one day when me
and
and
close
him
to
had a walk.
2,000
Huh.
Palestinian prisoners.
Yeah.
A
Or whatever.
coalition of
Yeah.
immigrant rights
You
groups
just tell
filed a
he's in
complaint
like-
with the Department of Homeland Security after 48 New Mexico residents disappeared during a weekend ICE raid. Jeanette Cedillo has more.
ICE officials say these people had either remained in the
Other than
country
getting a new
despite
knee,
being
there's not
ordered
much they
to
could
leave,
do.
or been charged with or convicted of serious crimes.
It's basically got replaced.
But the complaint by the
Everything is
ACLU
like
of New Mexico says most didn't have criminal
just
records.
war and tour.
They're requesting that federal civil rights authorities
It's not like you
locate
can
them and
do
hold
anything
those
really to
responsible accountable for their disappearance.
help that.
Advocates also called on state legislators
Except
to
getting a
advance
knee
bills
replacement.
that would limit local resources.
Just think,
given to
before they
ICE.
had knee replacements, people
Edwin
just have to, like,
Jesus Garcia
that's how you end
Castillo
up
was detained last
hobbling
year.
around, you know, or in a wheelchair, or like with a cane, or fucking barely able to move, you know. No, I
The
just felt
advocacy
people like
group
that,
says
just
they
like,
have not received confirmation of their complaint.
just like struggling to
Listening to
move
NPR.
anywhere.
It's
But they still keep
3:32.
doing it.
This
They
is
just don't
news
give
from
up, you know.
Wisconsin
But that's so much
Radio. Good
pain.
afternoon. I'm Brady Carlson. The Wisconsin Assembly is
Yeah,
debating
imagine.
a bill that would require
We'll get there.
sheriffs in the
We'll get
state to
there. It
cooperate with federal
We'll get
immigration
there.
authorities. The measure would require sheriffs to report people they've arrested on felony charges if they're not in the country legally.
Just all
Wisconsin
crippled
sheriffs
up.
already have agreements like this. Republican supporters say it will get the whole state on the same page. Democrats, like Assembly Minority Leader Greta Neubauer of Racine, say the bill is government overreach.
Our local law enforcement officers should have the discretion to determine the greatest threats to public safety in our communities and should not be forced
Sam, eat some of
to
these.
use state resources to enforce federal
They're
policy.
gluten-free.
Under the bill, communities that don't
Whatever that
participate
means.
will face reduction in state funding. Governor Tony Evers has said he will
I'm in
veto
salt mode.
the annual State of the Tribes address is taking place at the Wisconsin Capitol. Nick Rommel has more. This year's speech was given by Thomas Fowler. He chaired the tribal council of the St. Croix Chippewa Indians of Wisconsin, based in Burnett County. He read lawmakers a poem his daughter wrote for her mother.
Mom, I've seen baby turtles and frogs and birds and grasshoppers.
He said his daughter wrote the poem on a piece of paper and left it on her mom's grave.
My daughter's biological mother's life was taken too early from an accidental overdose of this deadly fentanyl.
He said overdoses, quote, nearly wiped out a generation of parents in his tribe, but he argued that legalizing medical marijuana in Wisconsin could help move people off of highly addictive drugs. The full address will air on WPR at 7 p.m. Nick Rommel, Wisconsin Public Radio. Breezy weather continues for the rest of the afternoon in Wisconsin, with temperatures mostly in the 50s. Overnight, you could see some light rain or wintry mix in the state, with temperatures in the 30s. Tomorrow, the wintry mix turns to heavy snow for parts of northern, western, and central Wisconsin. Those areas could see 3 to 12 inches of accumulation, depending on the track of the storm. Rain is likely in other parts of the state. Well, highs for Wednesday in the 30s and 40s. On Thursday, a mix of clouds and sunshine, temperatures around 35 to 40 degrees.
Well, what can you do?
Friday could bring light rain or snow showers, especially to southern Wisconsin. We'll see highs in the 40s for the end of the week. This is news from Wisconsin Public Radio. You can find more news anytime at WPR.org.
Support for NPR is from Nick Baker and from your part-time controller, the nonprofit accounting specialist, providing financial management services to support stronger nonprofits who make the world a better place. Learn more at ypmc.com/NPR. From Amazon Business, offering business buying services from office supplies to IT essentials and maintenance tools to help bring visions to life. Learn more at amazonbusiness.com. And from the Doris Duke Foundation.
This is All Things Considered from NPR News. I'm Elsa Chang in Culver City, California.
And I'm Mary Louise Kelly in Washington. Health disparity. That's among hundreds of terms the Trump administration is reportedly telling federal agencies to avoid or scrub from government websites, research, and databases. Some researchers, though, point out their work on health disparities actually benefits rural white populations that are often overlooked in debates about diversity and equity. NPR's Yuki Noguchi reports.
Dr. Fola May studies diseases of the digestive tract and runs a lab at the University of California, Los Angeles, looking for ways to detect disease earlier in various populations. For that work, her lab relies on federal funds from the National Institutes of Health and the Department of Veterans Affairs.
I would say I'm very dependent on it.
So, as those agencies began canceling grants promoting diversity, equity, and inclusion, or DEI, May worries would work like hers looking at health disparities also get swept in?
I'm terrified.
Addressing disparities has been a central focus of healthcare, and especially since the pandemic laid bare how access to care can affect so many aspects of health. May says that's abruptly shifted.
One of the biggest challenges right now is that people are becoming very polarized about disparities research, and they're thinking that, there are resources that are going to groups that are not me.
That's a misconception, May says, citing her own research on cancer screenings.
We have to recognize that disparities are affecting everyone, not just racial.
Do you really
I'll give an
want to
example.
make me
White
cry?
individuals that live in rural areas of the United States are less likely to get a screening test.
May says conflating health disparities with racial division or political advantages will discourage those like her
Do you
trying to
really
improve
want
the
to?
health of people overall. And she worries about an uncertain sense of censorship that hovers over her research.
We aren't sure what we can say in our grants. I very freely before wrote about disparities and equity in my grants. Actually, the NIH had a requirement that you had to write about equity and disparities in every grant.
Across the nation's scientific communities, researchers say they feel confused and concerned.
It feels like there's no adults in the room.
That's Kay, a clinician who works at the VA. NPR agreed not to use her full name because she fears losing her job. She researches why rural veterans, and women in particular, see doctors less and die younger than counterparts. Kay says colleagues circulated lists of words to avoid. The case says they include words like women, female, gender, and under
omitting really important details and hoping what we're reporting is still accurate, still authentic, and not misleading while threading this needle of not having the work flagged or torn down.
Sackett, a longtime cancer researcher at Ohio State University, has sought clarity.
Does it fall into the DBI category? You cannot contact them to get an answer.
She says her partners at NIH can't answer her questions because of a White House gag order still partially in effect. The NIH and VA did not respond to NPR's requests for comment. Paskett says work overcoming disparities in cancer care has dramatically increased survival. Yet she worries many voters and politicians
I don't know why these candles don't stay lit. They suck. That's
We
why.
hope that that is not under attack. Because if we want to cure cancer, we want to eliminate cancer, which is a bipartisan goal, then we have to make sure that we're addressing all populations.
Yuki Noguchi, NPR News. The U.S. has long been a leader in global humanitarian efforts, and because of that, the Trump administration's decision to dismantle its leading aid agency has upended humanitarian work around the globe. NPR's Michelle Kellerman reports on the cascading effects of U.S. policy in Washington.
5 Sudanese children died of malnutrition on the day we reached Hanan Ahmed and her colleague in Khartoum.
How can anyone die of malnutrition on the planet? So much food everywhere.
It's a
All
sad
the
thing when it
waste.
happens.
This is almost something to read about, actually.
Hanan Ahmed, who's based in the U.S., founded the Emergency Response Room.
How
in
can anyone
Sudan.
go hungry?
It's a network of local volunteers who support victims of sexual violence. It also
Something's
runs
wrong.
soup kitchens.
There's those who also starve themselves to death too.
Yeah,
She estimates that more than
that's their own
70%
choice, right?
of the funding comes
Right.
from the U.S., not directly from USAID.
But for someone to
rather
like die
through
from
nonprofit
starvation
groups.
or
Many
hunger
of them
because
receive money
they're
from the U.S.
malnourished,
government. They were prepared for some Trump cuts,
this doesn't
but
seem
no one
possible.
expected
While
this.
under their own care.
Well, just in any world, any society, it's like, how can people go hungry and
Sam
die?
Worthington used to run Interaction, an umbrella
When there's plenty of
organization of
food.
American non-governmental groups.
It's as if it chose to somehow disengage globally with its army or something. The scale of disengagement was so large that there was no way to
There's
replan for
times
that.
where I've been
Private
hungry, but that
nonprofits
was
have had to cut back
probably
on
a fault of my
services and
own
staff
somehow.
around the globe. Worthington says this
Yeah, but you
includes
should be able to
many
go somewhere and be like,
faith-based
look,
groups
I'm
who have yet to speak up
struggling
publicly,
with
Right, and
but are
usually I
trying
can
to
always
use
go
their
somewhere.
You
influence
could
to
probably go
influence
knock on
Congress
someone's
and the
door,
Trump
and
administration.
maybe if it took
They've
you
been
10
very
different
candid
homes
behind
and knocking and
closed
be like,
doors
look,
about what is going
I'm
on.
hungry,
That they're
someone
laying
would probably
off
help you
30,
eventually,
40% of their
you know?
staff,
Yeah.
that individuals are starting,
But I
that
wouldn't knock
these
on
programs
doors
are
for food,
ending,
would you?
that they cannot make up the slack.
The top
Maybe.
humanitarian
I never
official
been
at
there
the
before.
UN says it's
I
hard to
mean,
quantify
I've been
just
so
what
hungry
all
we
this
had to
means,
steal
but Tom Fletcher says one thing is
food.
clear. Up to now,
One
the
time,
U.S. has been a humanitarian
we like
superpower in the world,
shoplifted food because we
saving
were so
hundreds of
hungry.
millions of lives.
Now, I don't believe you build a golden age
I've
by
done that
retreating
before.
from the world. But we do have to recognise the context which governments
Just
are
one
taking
time
these
though.
decisions in. And of course, it's not just the
All I
American
did was
government.
walk in
I'm
like a
spending a
normal
lot
place,
more of my time
grabbed a box of
than
White
I'd
Castle
expected
burgers, and
in
walked outside
other
the
donor
Walmart
capitals, trying to
with them in
shore
my
up the
arms
case
like that.
for what we do.
Andy says making many choices about where to focus resources when there's so many conflicts and disasters in the world.
We have to save as many lives as we can with the money that we have, not the money that we would like.
And when I did, the time I did shoplift, me and my cousin, like, he got,
out of New York and closer to the
what the hell did we
but
get?
the world body has been slow to react.
Fucking,
The dependence on U.S. funding increased even after the
it
last
wasn't
Trump
shit, it was
administration.
like some
I think there was a
fucking,
sense of, oh, we got to restore.
hardly
Erwin
anything,
Roy
but
is
it was
senior
just enough to
policy
be like,
editor of the
to
New
get something in your
Humanitarian,
body
a
and be like,
nonprofit
boom,
organization that focuses on this issue. He says the UN and private aid groups have relied too heavily on the U.S.
we were walking by this one place
Increased
and
through the pandemic.
there's all these apple
COVID
trees
pandemic.
and shit, and it
Hunger
was
rates
like
soared
in
around the globe, and
season,
there was a need for aid, and
so
the U.S. was the one that
we
stepped
like
up.
loaded
And
up
he
our
doesn't see
pockets
other
as much as we
wealthy
could carry
nations
with
filling
like
the
apples,
gaps in the system where up to now the U.S. has
but
had
then
the
you
most
get, you know,
influence.
eventually you
If
get like
you're
sick of
China,
apples,
if
but,
you're
or
Saudi
eat them all.
Arabia,
You eat them all,
don't
either you get
give
sick of,
money to a
usually you get
multilateral
sick of them,
system
but
that
still
you don't
eating
feel
them because that's all you
represents your
got.
interests.
European
And
nations
then they're
too
gone,
have
and then
been
you're like,
cutting
fuck,
back
I gotta
humanitarian aid because they're under pressure from the Trump administration.
Eventually, you're
to
like,
spend
fuck, I want
more
to eat
on
something
defense.
substantial.
Michelle Kellerman, NPR News, the State
So you
Department.
end up like stealing some Cheez-Its, or cheese puffs, and some fucking brownies or something.
You're listening to All Things Considered from NPR News.
And then went as far as we were so hungry.
The Rwandan
We
government
went into
is
this
widely
house.
believed to be backing
Went
the
up to, we're like, we'll just,
rebel group
we'll knock it. It was like way out in the middle of
Eastern
nowhere.
Democratic
And like,
Republic of Congo. Rwanda denies it.
we're like,
but
we'll just
the
go up to this
DRC
house
wants
and like knock on the
organizations
door
around
and
the
ask for
world
food.
to
If no one
break
answers,
ties
we'll go in, and
with
if it's
them.
open.
NPR's Emmanuel
Sure enough, it was
Akinyi
open. There was this dog in the house.
Rwanda has emerged
It didn't even
from a
bark. It
different
just
place
like
of the world.
it was all happy and stuff to see us. We went into this house and like opened the fridge and just started. And it was like someone, no one was there. And we were out and we were thinking about stealing the vehicle, but we couldn't see the keys for it. We stole like $5 in quarters off this, evidently the kids' room. And they took a bunch of leftovers and canned shit from the shelves and just got the fuck out of there.
Oh my god.
And sat in the woods and ate like leftover lasagna from strangers' homes that we just fucking robbed.
The country's partnership with the NBA is just one.
They're probably like, well, whoever it was must be more needing it more than we do.
Yeah, like we didn't like, we just stole food and like that roll of nickels we found. It was like $5 worth of nickels.
One night, me and Nicole and Amanda flew into the elderly. And the door was open, like wide open.
Yeah.
So we went in there and we stole a whole bunch of food. We're trying to eat it while we're doing it. And Amanda's like, knock it off, Nick. I was like, just starving, like seriously. Like,
Visit Rwanda.
I can't remember what it was, but it was like, it was good. Sandwiches and shit, $100 and shit.
Some of the biggest soccer clubs in the world.
Like, we started, me and Nick right away started eating, and Matt was like, come on, you guys, quit fucking around.
Like Scooby-Doo and Shaggy.
Right.
I always loved those scenes from Scooby-Doo when they would like go into the, wherever they were, they'd always find the kitchen. They'd always like, oh, let's go find some food.
And there's always fried chicken. And
something just tasty, and they just load up or make these big sandwiches.
Giant sandwiches.
Yeah, and Scooby would always eat it, and then Shaggy would be left with pretty much nothing.
You'd be like, oh, man.
But man, they make it look so good.
They did. Like, there's this one song that was by Mickey Mouse and Goofy and Donald Duck and whoever. And it was like, we had the video when we were kids, and it was like, pancakes piled up until you reach the sky. And it showed all these pancakes with fire and syrup, like, piled up. Like, they were just going to town. And it's just a song about food.
At New York University. He said the pressure on Rwanda is growing, but hasn't come close to what the country faced in the past.
Heck yeah, the sandwiches look
That
good.
shit still looks good. Or like Bugs Bunny, when like there's these scenes where like it shows like King and he's got this big hunk up, like looks like a big turkey leg or a big chicken wing. He's just like
they make it look so good.
Yum.
Rwanda's
Wish I had
been
that
able to keep itself needed. I think that's one of the reasons that
Where's my horse and
so reluctant to crack down on what nobody is questioning really is massive Rwandan intervention in Eastern DRC.
So for now,
Carnival Food's the best. I always liked the Charlotte's Web when the rats like out about just hanging out fat from all the leftovers.
Oh yeah.
From the fair. And he's just finding all these like goodies. Even that looks good.
The rat fucking ditch
Just
food.
smorgasbording.
And their belly gets just big.
Yeah, he's like rolling around.
Yeah, that does look good too.
Oh man, I always love the turkey legs up at when they have that. What is it? Out by the Imperial
that will allow for sharply increased military spending, even if it means adding to debt.
Head of the Lakes.
Head of the Lakes Fair.
Yeah.
Austerity in Germany.
Yeah, always, there was this place that grilled out like fucking
about
turkey
15
legs for like
minutes.
$5-7. It always went up
Meetings of the
every year.
Board of Regents of the University
I'd
of
always
Wisconsin
make sure I got
System
one of those.
and its committees
Or
on
funnel
religious
cakes or
broadcastation
mini
are generally
All
open
that
to the
shit.
public.
Cotton candy. Even the
Certain meetings
popcorn's
or
good.
portions of meetings
corn
may be
dogs.
closed,
Oh my
and
Oh,
god.
it's
may
all
address
good.
confidential
French
information over
fries,
Gyros.
cheese,
More information about specific meeting dates, times,
Fucking
and locations is
whatever
available
on
on
a
the
stick.
WPR website,
Sometimes something on a
WPR.org.
stick. And whatever it is, it's always good because it's on a grill.
right? Mini
Support for
donuts. Remember those?
WPR from
Yes,
Lawrence
oh my
University in
god.
Appleton, a national liberal arts college
They're
and
probably arming a
conservatory,
lady now.
offering a global education with
Yeah, you could buy those
research
machines and get
study
into the
abroad
like franchise.
more at lawrence.edu.
You know, it's like a franchise you could buy into. But you could watch the little
Wisconsin
machine do
Public
its
Radio
thing.
brings the state together.
You know,
With
it was
reports
like
from our
all
8
like
bureaus around
McDonald's
the
kind
state, WPR is your connection to the pulse of Wisconsin. We are your source for in-depth news from Wisconsin, the
Man.
U.S., and the world.
Breezy weather continues in Wisconsin for the rest of the afternoon. Temperatures mostly in the 50s. Overnight, could see some
Yeah,
light
last
rain and
time
wintry
I
mix.
went and
Temperatures
partied
in the
at
30s
Apple
across the
Fest
state.
was
Tomorrow, wintry mix
I
turns
was
to heavy snow.
and I came here with you
And central
and
Wisconsin.
woke up at Bob Marshall's crying because I didn't even have clothes.
Parts of the state will have highs for Wednesday.
And he was like, well, here, I'll give you this
This is Wisconsin.
to get rid of and do what you can with that. And so right away I went down to the casino, got rid of that, traded it.
How did that?
I
How,
hustled.
what do you mean you came here with
The Trump
me?
administration has
I came here with you
What do you mean?
when I was living with Robbie.
What do you mean you kind of ride down from Super?
Yeah.
Oh,
When I was all drunk and I didn't even pack for it, I just went on a whim.
Oh, I don't remember that.
explicitly banned
I don't think I
companies
do.
from maintaining segregated facilities.
I don't know, I was
while
pretty drunk.
companies that
But
contract with the federal
you gave me a
government
ride
failed
and
to comply with
I was like, I could just stay up on
prohibits
Marshall's.
segregation and discrimination.
Actually, you were like, you should come with. And I was like, okay.
Contract laws is
Robbie's like, oh, that you know.
exclusive story.
The
Like,
change
alright.
came in a public memo issued last
So I
month
got
by
up
the
at
General
Bob
Services
Marshall's.
Administration and affects contracts from all
I ended up
agencies
at
of
Apple
the federal
Fest
government.
anyways, and I was
In the
able to get a
memo,
euro,
William
and
Clark,
then
director of the Office of Government-Wide Acquisition
woke up with a
Policy,
fucking
explained that the GSA was prompted
package
by
of those mini
President
hot
Trump's
dogs
executive orders on
and a
diversity,
bag of
equity,
pills
inclusion,
next to me,
and
like
one about
on
gender
JoJo's
identity.
floor
It includes a list
Holy
of
fuck.
9 clauses
in her
to
living room.
exclude in future contracts.
And
The
Dylan
way
was
the
just
change
pissed
was
at me.
made was unusual.
Her oldest
Cara
son.
Sacalato of the law firm Wiley in Washington,
I
D.C.
was
said
like, oh my
normally
god.
a panel would come together to propose a rule
Yeah,
to
we should
implement
drink
an
whiskey.
executive order.
Send it out for notice and comment, and then parties have a chance to comment on it.
Sounds like a blast.
Then it is put in the final rule that
Yeah,
is
it was
then
years ago.
inserted into the FAR.
The FAR stands for Federal Acquisition Regulation,
How quick
government-wide
time flies
policies
by
and
because
laws
it
on
doesn't seem
procurement.
that long ago.
That
It
is
actually
not
is
what
about
It's
happened
a
here.
10
Instead,
years
the
ago,
changes
you
went
know?
into effect
I don't know. It's
immediately,
kind of like
with no
a good
opportunity for
marker
public
for
comment,
me in a
a
way.
procedure that's usually reserved for national emergencies.
Because
One particular
it's
clause
only
on the
been
list
2
to be
years
excluded from contracts
since I worked
going
the beer
forward is
tent
called,
there.
quote,
I missed
prohibition
last
of
year.
segregated
Probably
facilities,
could
which
have.
reads,
And
quote, the contractor agrees
remember
that
we
it
just
does
bailed
not
on
and
the
will
whole
not
Aquafest
maintain
scene.
or provide for its employees any
We were out at
segregated
the beaches.
facilities at any of its
I think
establishments.
we went in there one
It
time. I went
defines
to see my
segregated
sister get some
facilities as work areas,
little
restaurants, drinking fountains,
candy shop.
transportation, housing, and more. And it says you
Help us
can't
out.
segregate based on, quote, race, color, religion, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity, or national origin. Sacalato notes that gender
But
identity
then we
was
like
added
had
to
to
the
fuck out
clause
there.
in
Remember we were sitting
2015
outside
under
serving
President
pepperonis?
Obama.
You're like,
I
Tosh,
would
like checking us out.
suspect that that is
Oh, yeah. I
the
was
reason why this
freaked
one
out too.
got identified. And
Anyways,
that's my
I'm sure at the
speculation.
time.
The memo does not say to exclude that part of the clause, though. It says to exclude the whole thing. The General Services Administration did not answer NPR's questions about why that clause was removed. In a statement, GSA spokesperson Will Powell said, quote, GSA has taken immediate action to fully implement all current executive orders. Melissa Murray is a constitutional law professor at NYU. She thinks the removal of the segregated facilities clause is significant.
It's symbolic, but it's incredibly meaningful in its symbolism.
There was a lot of
Murray pointed out there are
there's a
still
lot of
federal
people in
and
that
state
last movie.
anti-discrimination
Which one?
The one we just watched.
We don't require you
Tropic Thunder?
Yeah.
integrated facilities.
Yeah, there were.
facilities, but that, of course, which is an employer
racial integration.
The fact that they are now excluding those provisions from the requirements for federal contractors, I think speaks volumes.
She says her father, a Jamaican immigrant studying at Howard University in the 1950s, worked in the stockroom at a Washington, D.C. department store because Black people weren't allowed to work on the sales floor. When it comes to segregation in America, she says, it's not far removed at all. Celine Simmons-Duffin, NPR News, Washington.
The novelist Abdul Razak Gurnah was just starting a new book when he got a call. In 2021, he had won the Nobel Prize in Literature, which was great and all, but the attention meant he had to take a break from writing that book.
I couldn't go back to it. I don't like to work under this kind of pressure.
He eventually returned to those unfinished pages and found there was still a story there that needed to be written.
Story. Everybody's got a story.
Host of NPR's Book of the Day podcast.
It's the 90s and Tanzania is open for business. The government recently dropped foreign exchange.
What's your story? Your story.
Its island just
What's your
Here's
story?
Abdul Razak Gurnah, who was born on the island.
Suddenly, tourism just became
Please don't bore me with your story. I want the hot parts, the good stuff, the fun times. I don't want to hear nothing of the bad times, the boring times, or nothing like that. I want to hear the hot times. I want to hear the juicy ones.
I mean, there are many corruptions. People begin to tell stories that are not true. Lies going around saying this is that. Pretty much you live there. It's all lies. They make things up just to please them and do whatever these people want to hear.
This transition time, when allegiances and power balances are all shifting, is when and where Gurnah's new book.
I think I'll have a meltdown.
It centers three characters. There's the educated and his young wife Fauzia, who suffers from epilepsy, and Buddha, a young servant who treated Fauzia almost like a younger sibling. They all come from different worlds, and yet all three of them have something in common. Rightfully or wrongfully, they all feel unwanted by their parents in some way. You know, why was it important to you to have these characters feel a sense of rejection so early on?
I suspect a lot of children feel that at some stage. Now, it could be this is an adolescence thing. But as you go older, you realize when you start having your own children, that it isn't true. But in some cases, of course, it's also true that they're not wanted. Like in the case of Buddha, nobody wants you.
And people say this to Buddha repeatedly. Early on in the book, the woman who takes Buddha in as a boy tells him the story of how his mom died when he was a baby and how his father up and left. Gurnah writes, quote, "He cried every time she told it. He felt so dirty. She tutted at him when he cried and wiped his tears with her fingers, but then later she would tell him again, 'We did the best we could for you and God will reward us.'" And so it's a big blow when Buddha, finally finding some footing, some stability in his life, is falsely accused of stealing.
So I'm so very interested in how people who are powerless save themselves. Powerless is that they somehow hang on and find a way out.
Gurnah's last book, Afterlives, was a grand, multi-generational statement-making novel about colonialism and violence and war. The kind of novel you'd expect from an author with the biggest literary prize to his name. In comparison, the story he tells in Theft is smaller. Or maybe intimate is the better word.
And I wanted to get it right in the end precisely because I didn't want it to be something that we need to say, hey, here comes Mr. Nobel.
The high drama moments in Theft happen in plain sight, like quiet living rooms or at the front desk of the hotel where Buddha ends up working.
I like that. I mean, I like the fact that it's not heroic lives, but they're also not heroic obstacles. They're regular, everyday, ordinary sort of things.
Theft is a story about people getting jobs, having a buddy, finding a place to stay, and figuring out their place in the world. Not to disagree with Mr. Nobel, but the way Gurnah writes it, it all comes off as pretty heroic to me. Andrew Limbach, NPR News.
This is NPR News. Support for NPR comes from the station and from Fisher Investments. As a fiduciary, Fisher Investments is obligated to act in their clients' best interest. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com. Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
Fiduciary.
From Workday. Workday is an HR and finance platform for forward thinkers. dedicated to propelling organizations, workforces, and industries into the future. Workday, moving business forever forward. From Progressive Insurance, with its Name Your Price tool, a way to see coverage options based on a driver's budget. Learn more at progressive.com or 1-800-PROGRESSIVE. Price and coverage match limited by state law. And from the John D. and Catherine D. MacArthur Foundation at macfound.org.
Another hour of All Things Considered is next at 4 o'clock here on Wisconsin Public Radio. Starting with the news update, Governor Tony Evers has included $25 million in his proposed capital budget for renovations at Milwaukee County's courthouse complex. That story's coming up.
Support for WPR comes from the Wisconsin Maritime Museum, presenting the new exhibit From Lake to Plate, showcasing the journey of fish from Lake Michigan to the table. More information is available at wisconsinmaritime.org.
Do you have questions about something you heard on WPR? Contact our Audience Services Department by emailing listener@wpr.org or by calling 1-800-747-7444.
Yeah, I think that's what maybe I'll take a nap.
I'm getting there.
Are you?
90.9 WUWF Ashland.